Hi everyone and happy Friday. Today we're just going to continue our work with vertical and horizontal asymptotes. I want you guys to get some more practice on this before we go into the weekend. So, first things first, the substitute should have handed you out this worksheet. If you haven't gotten the worksheet yet, please ask them to pause the video and hand out the worksheet so you can follow along. Once you get the worksheet, please cross off the part of the instruction that tells you to find the holes. We haven't gotten there yet, but we will on Monday when I'm back. For graph everything, I just want you to draw dotted lines where the asymptotes go after you find them. So let's take a look at problem number 1. And let's start by finding our horizontal asymptotes because we've been practicing those and I know you guys are pretty good at this. So the first thing we're going to do for our horizontal asymptote is we're going to identify the degree of the numerator and the denominator. Because the numerator is just a number, it doesn't have a variable or an exponent, the degree is 0. So our numerator degree is 0. Our denominator has a variable without an exponent, so that degree is equal to 1. So d equals 1. Our numerator is less than our denominator. 0 is less than 1. So we know from our rules that we learned that our horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 0. So let's draw in that horizontal asymptote at y equals 0 with just a dotted line here on the x-axis. Now let's find our vertical asymptote. For the vertical asymptote, we're going to use the denominator. We're going to set it equal to 0 and then solve for x. So our denominator is x plus 1. So x plus 1 equals 0. We're going to subtract 1 from each side so we can get the x by itself. And we're going to be left with x equals negative 1. Now we can draw in our vertical asymptote at x equals negative 1. And that's all I want you to do for this problem. We will come back to this worksheet once we learn more about the holes and how to draw the graphs. So let's do problem number 2 together as well. Again, we're going to start with our horizontal asymptote. So we're going to be looking at the degrees of the numerator and the denominator. The degree of the numerator is 2 because that is our highest exponent. The degree of our denominator is also 2 because that's also the highest exponent. For this problem, the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of the denominator. So that means that we're going to have to divide the lead coefficients to get our horizontal asymptote. Because there's no number in front of the x's, that means that both lead coefficients are 1. So we're going to do 1 divided by 1. The horizontal asymptote is y equals 1. Let's draw in our horizontal asymptote at y equals 1 with a dotted line. Remember, the asymptote means that the line for the graph cannot touch or cross that line. Now we can find our vertical asymptote. For our vertical asymptote, we're going to look at our denominator again, which is x squared minus 3x. This is one we're going to have to factor because we have a degree that is higher than 1. To factor this, I'm going to look for a common factor between x squared and 3x. They both have x in common, so that's going to go on the outside of my parentheses. So now I'm going to do x squared divided by x, which is x, minus 3x divided by x, which is just 3. And that again will be equal to 0. Now that I have two factors, I'm going to set each factor individually equal to 0. So I'm going to have x equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. We already have one vertical asymptote here because x equals 0 is already solved for us. So now we just need to solve x minus 3 equals 0. So we're going to add 3 to each side. And then we're going to get x equals positive 3. So these are our two vertical asymptotes. We're going to draw those onto our graph as well using dotted lines. So I'll have one dotted line at x equals 0, which is my y-axis. And then I'm going to have another dotted line at x equals positive 3. Okay, those are the two problems we're going to practice together. I would like you guys to get the rest of the problems on the back of the sheet. There's only two more, so this shouldn't be too difficult. And I want you to solve those together with your seat partners or whoever's sitting around you. Remember, any work that you do with the substitute is going to count as a quiz grade, so make sure that you turn this in once you're finished. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday.